The search. Runner. The corrupt guard pulls into the driveway of his house, getting out and walking inside. He opens the unlocked door and his wife and son are happy to see him. The guard doesn't care. "Move, Daniel, I've got to go," the guard says to his son. His son is a kid that doesn't understand why his father just pushed right past him like it's nothing. The guard walks to his bedroom and grabs a suitcase before throwing some clothes into it. "Trenton, what's going on?" the guard's wife says as she puts her hand around his arm. Trenton yanks away from her hand, much to the dismay of his wife. "I'm close to getting found out. There's this new team of heroes poking around, and I have to leave. It's a matter of time until they find out I blew up the precinct," he says as he finally closes his bag and begins to walk away. His wife stands in front of him, telling him not to leave, and that she doesn't understand. Trenton angrily tells her to move and walks directly to his front door before walking out and shutting it. The heaviness of the door closing causes a picture to fall off the wall, the glass cracking on impact. His wife walks over and picks up the picture of her and Trent on their first date and begins to cry. Daniel watches his mother cry and frowns. He doesn't understand. Force 25 arrives at the police station fully suited up. As they walk in, Chief Jackson walks up to them and begins to speak to Connor. "Guards at Rikers have said that Mackey disappeared without his ID card," Chief says with an urgent tone of voice. "Well, I doubt that he's far," Hero says confidently. "Lance, we need to set up a perimeter. We can't allow him to escape out of New York City." Lance nods to the chief and steps onto an empty desk, with Chief following him. "All officers, listen! Chief Jackson has something to say," Lance says as he motions to Glenn. Glenn nods and begins to speak. "Everyone, we found the man who blew up the station and injured and killed a lot of civilians and our own. We need to nab him. Everyone set up your perimeters around the city. We've got to stop him." In a harmonious sound, all the officers in the station shout, "Yes, sir," and begin to prepare themselves. "Lance, I want you and Connor on patrol. Hero, help the SWAT get set up. Annika, you're with me," Chief says as he looks around at the heroes. Their orders are given, and Lance and Connor leave the station and stand on the sidewalk, amidst the civilians who watch a huge amount of officers leave the station. "We gotta patrol the streets and make sure that Mackey can't slip through while they set up the barricades," the Northeast soldier says to the armored arachnid. Lance nods at Connor's statement and says to swing around and stick to the skies, offering Connor his car. Connor declines and tells Lance that there's a new high-powered patrol car that he's been waiting to try out. Connor and Lance part ways as Lance takes to the skies with his webs. He swings around, past buildings and over roofs. Eventually, he stops to switch channels on his onboard police scanner. Standing on a roof that overlooks Manhattan, Lance sees all the police cars zooming down the streets. Lance waits to hear the description of Mackey's car before leaping off the building and shooting a web forward. Lance finally hears what kind of car he should be looking for. "All units, be on the lookout for a cherry red Ford Fusion. License plate MIG 928E. Lance nods. "Copy that. Sweeping the city now," Lance says. He looks around and the sky is getting cloudy, and Lance knows it's going to rain soon. He jumps from the building, swinging off. Connor zooms through the streets, searching for the car from the APB. He quickly grows impatient and then he stops at an intersection. He looks around at all the cars parked in the street and angrily hits his steering wheel. His eyes dart around as if worried that someone saw his outburst. He drives off looking at every single car he passes with no luck. "Battle Spider, this is Northeast Soldier, come in," Connor says roughly. Lance replies back as he swings around through Hell's Kitchen, searching for the car. "Hey Con, what's up?" Lance says with a strained voice. Connor asks if Lance has found the car yet, and before answering, Lance swings onto the side of an apartment building and perches on it as he stares down at the street. "No, I see a lot of Ford Fusions, but none are red and none have that license plate," Lance replies as he continues to swing around. Meanwhile, the Heat Seeker is in the process of locking down the bridges into and out of Manhattan. He distributes SWAT members to different locations, every possible bridge that Mackey could escape on. Hero decides to check in with Annika and Chief. "Chief, this is Heat Seeker. May I ask for a status report?" Hero asks softly. "Yeah, Heat Seeker, this is Chief. Aqua and I are in a helicopter. Aqua scanning the cars that match the description. Over," Chief says as he puts his walkie-talkie back as he refocuses on flying the helicopter. Annika glances from the scanner and looks at Glenn, who's zoned in with piloting. She could tell he's desperate to find this guy. "So, how long have you been with the police force?" Annika asks him. Chief's eyes dart to the right, but not to Annika. "I joined in 2003, he says flatly. Annika nods and for a second feels as if her attempt to lighten the mood failed, but then asks Chief another question. "Do you have any kids?" This question makes Glenn pause, and he slowly glances at Annika and sighs disappointedly as his face becomes distraught. "No, my wife and I, we never managed to. The last time we tried was 15 years ago. We always wanted a daughter, but her and I are 5 past that age now, Chief stammers to say with a half smile. Annika frowns as she nods her head before Chief asks about her family life. Oh, well, it's just me and my mom. Has been for a few years now. My dad was a scientist, but he died, Annika says with a sad tone in her voice. Chief looks at her sadly and asks what happened. Car crash, she says softly. Chief nods before saying, I'm sorry. Annika shakes her head and wipes a tear from the edge of her eye. Chief looks at her and gives her a warm smile and says, You know, if I had a daughter, I would have wanted her to be just like you, Chief says. Annika smiles again and nods before thanking him for his kind words. And I think that if Mr. Redfield could see you right now, he'd be the proudest dad ever, because I'm proud of you too, Chief says. Well, if you had a daughter, she'd be honored to have you as her father. Chief feels his eyes well up at this, and he turns his face away from Annika and glances out of the window. Suddenly, he sees a red Ford Fusion speeding through the streets, narrowly missing cars and civilians. He automatically knows and lets Annika know as he turns the helicopter in the direction that the car is driving in, and Annika radios the rest of Force 25 to tell them that the car has been spotted. Force 25, this is Aqua. Mackie has been spotted driving down East 59th toward the Queensboro Bridge, Annika yells. One swings east and starts swinging through Central Park, through trees and skimming across the pond as he spins around and continues to swing. Meanwhile, Hero hears Annika's words and gets the attention of the SWAT officers that are standing amongst themselves. Mackie is escaping towards our bridge. Prepare your arms for combat, Hero yells. The SWAT officers nod and load their weapons before aiming them forward and keeping watch. What a way to spend a Tuesday, huh? Officer Ditko says to Officer Romita. Yeah, and I'm pumped, Steve, Romita says with a chuckle.